How's it going, everybody? David Hedge here, House Hedge Gaming, and today we are talking Dice Throne by Roxley Games. Not only is this game getting a resurgence at the gaming tables because the tournament scene that has finally started to establish over the past couple of years, and also they are getting ready to have Slam Throne, the latest edition of the Dice Throne universe, debuting fully at Gen Con 2025. But the latest set, Xmen from Marvel, Dice Throne in cooperation with the Op, is now hitting the shelves for players that have been backing it and now getting the pre-order shipped from Roxley Games directly and everything. And I finally got mine. And today I'm going to review the 8 X-Men that you are able to play as out of this newest expansion in the Dice Throne universe. So without any further ado, let's get started. All right, first up, let's talk about Wolverine. Now, Wolverine has two status effects. The first one is Alpha with a stack limit of 1. A player affected with this token must skip their income phase and then remove this token. The token cannot be transferred by any means, but can still be removed. The second status effect is Rage, where a player with this token may spend 1 and discard a card to add 3 damage to their attack. This counts as an attack modifier. They can also spend 3 Rage to draw a card. Now, as you can see throughout Wolverine's board, all of his attacks pretty much have a way to be able to heal and be able to mitigate the damage that your opponent's inflicting, because with that adamantium skeleton plus his ability to recover, it's going to be hard to take down the Wolverine. Plus, its ultimate ability, even though you're gaining some health back with Heal 3, you're gaining some rage, but also dealing a lot of damage to your opponent. Now, one of the main things you need to remember with Wolverine is that you will be discarding cards to be able to do stuff for Rage, along with some of the other cards you have in your deck. So you'll have cards like Recover, Frenzy, Astonishing Recovery, and Astonishing Frenzy. These will have some major effects going on when you discard them for various reasons. You will also have cards like Is That All You Got? You'll gain 2 rage, and if you are attacked with a defendable damage, you may choose to skip your defense roll to gain 2 combat points. Now, that'll come in handy to be able to play cards later on, also to upgrade a lot of your abilities here on the board. You also have Fastball Special, because what Wolverine game would be complete if you didn't have him being thrown around and having a Fastball Special take place? You gain Rage, you get dealt 2 damage because, well, you're getting thrown, but you add 2 damage to an attack. Finally, you have Intimidate. A chosen opponent afflicted with Alpha must discard a card or take 4 damage. So cards like this, along with being able to recover, being able to increase your attacks, definitely makes Wolverine a very deadly adversary at your next tournament. Now, next up is Storm. Now, Storm has the unique ability to be able to charge their attacks. Now, the way they do that is through various cards that you'll be playing throughout the game, and also the abilities on the attacks. When you charge, you place a lightning bolt on that attack, and then not only do you get the attack's ability when you activate it, but you're able to get the charged effect as well. Now, if you ever try to put 2 lightning bolts on the exact same attack, both those lightning bolts go, but you deal 2 points of isolated damage that is undefendable to any opponent. So just remember, in this game, a little shock therapy is not a bad thing. Now, Storm has 2 different status effects. First off, Tornado. A player with this token may spend it at the start of their offensive roll phase. For each token spent, gain an opponent's die. These dice may be included in all roll attempts during the offensive roll phase. Now, usually you have a small straight, a large straight on your board, but for Storm, they have the largest straight. 1 through 6 is what you need to cause a maelstrom. Now, if you're able to steal your opponent's dice, that is going to be very beneficial for you, because not only will it help you gain that largest straight, but you can use their dice to go for a straight, but still have your dice available to possibly hit some of your other effects if you can't get that straight that you would like. Now, you also have Wind Shear. A player with this token may spend it when being attacked to prevent 2 incoming damage. Then choose an opponent to receive 2 damage as an isolated source of undefendable damage. So, those wind shears can definitely be deadly and be able to off-track anybody's attacks and redirect it as you see fit. Now, when playing Storm, using cards like Lightning Strike and Uncanny can definitely help you out to charge your abilities and attacks for later on. Especially with Uncanny, being able to charge your largest trait, but also your ultimate ability. The ultimate lets you gain Tornado, Wind Shear, deal 12 damage, but if it's charged, you get to gain 2 more Tornado and deal 2 more damage. Whew, that is definitely going to be a Tempest. In addition to that, you have cards like Gale Force. Roll 4 dice, you add 1 damage for each wind that you roll, and on a 6, the Cyclone, you gain Tornado. As an attack modifier, that one's going to be really good. For 1 combat point, you can re-roll up to 3 dice, so be able to manipulate the dice, whether it be yours or your opponent's, when it's on your phase. Finally, we have Dynamic Nature. You can remove 1 lightning, which is on any of your attacks, to roll 3 dice. You gain a combat point for each wind. For each rain, you draw a card, and on a 6, you gain Wind Shear. And I did misspeak. On the rain, it can only be gained once for drawing a card. But for wind, you can gain as many combat points as you can within those 3 dice per wind that you roll. So there's going to be wind, there's going to be tornadoes, there's going to be lightning, there's going to be a whole lot of destructive forces when you play with or play against the mighty Storm. Now, next up is Psylocke, which is one of my favorite X-Men characters. Now, with this one, her passive ability, which you don't see that too often on the characters in Dice Throne, she has it to where you can roll a modified die, the Manifest die. Now, this one, you're rolling it, and it's a different color from her other dice. It has the exact same faces as all the dice that she has, but when you roll it, you set it aside, and you can do one of 2 things with that die. It can be used to increase your attack damage by half of the roll value that you just rolled, or you can replace a die used during the offensive roll phase. So if this die is able to get you that large straight or be able to complete one of the combos here that you need to have a bigger effect, you can use that die instead of one of the other die you've already been rolling. You could also use the value, half it, and increase that as damage on your attack. So for this case, usually for me, it's 1 damage, but you can actually add up to 3 depending on if you're able to roll a 6 or not, which usually I don't. But you know what? That's perfectly fine. That is my destiny in card games and board games, is roll really low. But with her abilities, a lot of them are very straightforward. She's able to manipulate a little bit thanks to Manifest Die, but also her status effects definitely help her out along the way. So first off, we have Paralyze. A player afflicted with this token cannot gain or inflict any status effects associated with any of their offensive abilities. So this can definitely help out against abilities like Target and all that are going to be hindering you, and also the ones that help out your opponent as well. Next up, you have Agility. When a player with this token receives damage, you may spend it and roll 1 die. On a 1 to 3, prevent half incoming damage. Now, we've seen this kind of ability before. Actually, I think we've seen Agility before. And being able to prevent half damage, it might not seem like much at that attack, but you know what? Later in the game, half damage is a lot less damage that you'll be taking than the full effect of an ability. Next, we finally have Infiltration with a stack limit of 2. A player with this token may spend it and then choose a die rolled by any player, including themselves. During their defensive roll attempt, the chosen die must be re-rolled. So if there's that one last bit of damage prevention that your opponent was able to roll because of their defensive ability, you can get them to re-roll it and possibly end the game by manipulating the best way you can. Now, not only with her abilities, as well as her otherworlder ultimate ability of being able to gain agility, inflict paralysis, and deal 11 damage, you have cards like Shattered. Deal 2 as an isolated source of an undefendable damage to an opponent and then afflict them with Paralyze. Yeah, that would pretty much shatter me as well. You have a Strong Will. You may remove 1 agility token to prevent half incoming damage. Now, that is very strong. You don't have to rely on the 50-50 shot on the dice. With that, you can just go on ahead and do it. Next, you have Deft Maneuver. Choose an opponent and examine their hand. Now, we don't get to see that too much in Dice Throne, so being able to just look at an opponent's hand is amazing. Being able to have some intelligence to know what they have so you can be prepared for your next attack and your next defense is not bad at all. Finally, you have Mind Altering. If you use the Manifest die To increase your attack damage, heal for the same amount. So this can help you out along the way. So the higher you roll on this, chances are playing that might save you in the long run. Now, next up, we have Iceman, which is a very cool customer in the X-Men mythology. They have three different status effects that you're able to use at your disposal. First one is a negative effect, the stack limit 2, Dice Cube. A player afflicted with this token could not alter the lowest value die from their first roll attempt during their offensive roll phase. If its stack limit the affects the two lowest dice values rolled. At the conclusion of the roll phase, remove these tokens. So this pretty much locks and freezes the two lowest die, up to two lowest die that your opponents will have. Next up is Ice Shards. You may spend 5 Ice Shards at any time to gain Glide. Stack limit of 5. Or is it? Finally, you have Glide. If your offensive roll phase results in an ability that has a glide path, which is basically this little symbol here. Glide paths are marked with an arrow going from, say, for example, Frostbite to Everybody Chill. You may spend this token at the conclusion of your opponent's defensive roll phase. If spent, follow the glide path to immediately activate an additional offensive ability targeting the same opponent. This token can only be spent once per turn, so you can't glide path into a bunch of different effects. There is a way to do it. Just like this right here, go from here to here to here to here. Not going to be able to do it, even though it'd be tempting. Second, this token cannot be removed or transferred by any means. Now, being able to have the glide path, yeah, you're gliding on ice. You have that frozen path to victory, being able to trigger one from another, depending on where you're at in activating your attacks. But you see the stack limit of 5 and 1 for your glide? Well, you got more if you have a freezer. With the freezer card, you're able to store 5 ice shards and 1 glide shard onto it. So not only do you have the 5 and 1 that you'll be able to have on your board, but the 5 and 1 you'll be able to have in the freezer. And you are able to move those tokens and actually use them when you gain them to convert in the glide tokens. So don't worry, you'll be able to use your ice shards whenever you need them. And if you need more clarification on that, definitely go to the rules clarification on here, which I'm glad they have this on all the different characters in the Dice Throne universe. Now, not only will you leave your opponents cold with the attacks and also the ice storm that you're able to inflict as your ultimate, you have cards like Ice Cool. You may transfer any tokens stored in the freezer to your hero board. So being able to have a chance to gain more ice shards and be able to use glide at any point, move it from the freezer, is definitely very beneficial. You have Freeze the Day. Remove an ice shard to deal 3 damage to an opponent. Straight, simple, ice dagger, there we go. We have Froze and Cons. Remove an ice shard from the freezer, then roll 1 die. On ice, inflict 2 dice cubes to a chosen opponent. On slide, gain 3 combat points, and on frost, you draw 2 cards. For 0 combat points, that's a really good thing to use an ice shard for. Finally, you have Skiing is Believing. Roll 1 die, gain half the value in ice shards. Sweet and simple. The more ice shards you get, the better chance you're going to glide, and the better chance you'll be able to slide your way into victory. Now, next up is one of the leaders of the X-Men, Cyclops. Now, Cyclops, of course, is definitely one that does a lot more planning, but also is not afraid to fire the optic blast. So, they have 3 status effects. One is Battle Plan with a stack limit 4. You can spend these tokens to do the following. 1, examine an opponent's hand, which basically definitely emphasizes Cyclops' ability to plan before attacking. 3, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. If any of them are leadership cards, you may reveal one of them and put them into your opponent and add to your hand. Each remaining card is discarded or put back in any order. So you're able to manipulate the top of your deck, which is really good. Spend 3 tokens to inflict Focus Fire on a chosen opponent. We'll go over that one in just a sec. We have Support, stack limit 3. By spending this token, you can do the following. Spend a token, the chosen player gains 1 combat point. Spend a token, the chosen player may reroll 1 die of their choice at any time. And spend 3 tokens, a chosen player may draw a card. Now, this will definitely help out in Marvel missions and also in Dice Throne adventures if you would like to have the X-Men go portal jumping with your favorite Dice Throne characters. Finally, you have Focus Fire, stack limited 2. When a player with this token is attacked by an opponent, the attacker increases their damage by 1. And this is a persistent thing, so they got to make sure to deal with Focus Fire, else those up to 2 damage on additional attacks, that can definitely be a painful thing for them to deal with. Now, as you can see, a lot of the things the Cyclops does, he wants to plan and he wants to be able to help out anybody that he can to accomplish whatever mission lies ahead. So you'll need cards like Need a Hand to gain 3 support. If another leadership card was previously played, you get a bonus to draw a card, and leadership cards will have a leadership card on the bottom of it. Next, we have Locked In. Inflict Focus Fire on a chosen opponent. If this is the first leadership card played this turn, gain a support. So there's a little bit of a combo thing going on that would definitely benefit you a little bit in the game by playing multiple leadership cards or being able to play the first one, then follow it up with one. So if you play Locked In, Need a Hand, you're able to do a lot of stuff in very short order. Next, we have No Matter What, an attack modifier that adds 2 damage, then add an additional 2 damage for each other leadership card that was previously played this turn. Maximum of 4 additional damage. So being able to add 6 damage to an attack because you played some leadership cards, that Optic Blast is definitely going to be a big one later on down the line. And then finally, you have Attack Now. So being able to roll 5 dice, you add 1 damage for each fist, and on a blast, you inflict Focus Fire. Now, I have been mentioning Optic Blast because that's what his ability is, but his ultimate is Optic Blast, where you gain 3 Battle Plan, 2 Support, 2 Focus Fire, deal 11 damage, and I guarantee you your opponent will be hurting by the time it's all said and done. Next up, we have Rogue, which is definitely a very powerful X-Men indeed. Now, they have Ionic Drive, which is a passive ability. When damage is successfully dealt to you from an attack, gain Ionic Energy, and we'll go over that in just a minute. On 6 damage or less, you gain Ionic. On 7 damage or more, you gain 2 Ionic. Now, let's go over the status effects to look into Ionic Energy just a little bit more. First off, we have Influence with a stack limit of 3. A player afflicted with these tokens must roll 1 die at the start of their offensive roll phase. On every 1 to 3 rolled, they get 1 fewer roll attempts, then remove all these tokens. So, if they have a stack limit of 3, and if they roll all 3 dice, that's 1 or 3, they're not going to be able to do anything against you. So, Influence basically can weaken your opponent for a turn, which is definitely not good for them, but really great for you. Next, Ionic Energy. This boosts damage with a stack limit of 4. A player with this token may choose to spend it to add the indicated number of damage to their attack. You may only spend up to 2 tokens per turn. Alternatively, pay 1 combat point to spend up to 4 tokens this turn and its attack modifier. So the maximum you'll be able to do is if you have 4 tokens with the 2 showing, so that means you're going to be able to do an additional, at most, 8 damage from Ionic Energy going into whatever attack you are able to activate. Finally, you have Skyward with an attack or a stack limit of 2, but it is an attack that's going to be dealing some stuff here. So a player with this token is attacked. They may choose to spend it. If spent, you and your attacker each roll 1 die. The player who spent this token may pay 1 to reroll. If your outcome is greater, deal 3 damage back to the attacker. So see, yeah, you're definitely be attacking because you're getting that momentum from the sky. If your outcome is equal, spend 4 or prevent 4 incoming damage. So that is definitely going to be one to watch out for. Plus, there are cards that will be able to play a little bit better with Skyward to help do some other things as well throughout the game. So as you can see with Rogue's attacks, there is a lot going on with them. Everything from dealing undefendable damage, you're definitely going to be getting Skyward on several of these and inflicting a lot of influence. But in addition to that, including the ultimate of high altitude, you're going to have cards like Sugar. Change the value of any one die that was rolled as a result of influence or skyward. So you're being able to not only manipulate your opponent's rolls, but also see what that skyward outcome may end up being. You have Sweet Tea. That definitely does not look like sweet tea. That is a punch to me. But you gain iconic energy too, and you may spend up to 4 iconic energy this turn. You then also have Back Off. Inflict influence. A chosen opponent rolls 1 per influence they are afflicted with. For each 1 to 4 rolled, you steal a health. So they lose 1, you gain 1. Perfect theme for Rogue. Finally, we have Ionic Intensity. Increase ionic energy stack limit by 1, then roll 4 dice. On each touch, you gain Ionic 1. On each soar, you gain Ionic 2. And on Ion, which is the 6 in this one, you gain Skyward. So that's going to be a lot of potential to build up to something very big and be able to help out in the fence later on in the game. Hopefully, you'll be able to go Skyward to victory if you choose Rogue. Next up, we have Gambit, which remember what he does, he charges the cards, he throws the cards, he makes the cards go boom. And in this game, he will definitely be doing that with his ace cards, which is the deck that you will have as represented by these 4 cards. And they do have a special ability. You get to explode these cards to deal damage. Once per turn, when all of the charge slots on an ace card has been filled, which is the little abilities here, you may explode that card as an attack modifier. When you explode an ace card, activate its explode effect and then flip it face down, removing all the tokens. The ace may not be used again until it is regained. When a card or ability says accelerate, you may fill a single charge slot on any face up ace card. When you activate an offensive ability that utilizes a heart diamond or a spade club, you may accelerate 1 ace card and only 1 with a matching symbol. Now, you also have as status effects, you have molecular acceleration, which goes with your ace cards, and we just went over that a little bit. Those will be helping to fill in and charge the cards before they go boom. Next, you have dissolution. You may spend to heal or remove a status effect. With a stack limit of 2, a player with this token may spend it to either heal 2 or remove a negative status effect during the main phase. You finally have Disruption, which is stack limit 1. During their upkeep phase for your opponent that is afflicted with this negative status effect, a player afflicted with this token may choose to lose 1 combat point. If they do not or cannot, they receive 2 damage instead, then remove this token. So that is definitely a little bit of disruption if you ask me. Now, we have played this before, and I can honestly tell you the Gambit is probably one of the harder characters in the game, but it's a bit of a high risk, high reward because you're being able to activate these ace cards to inflict not only additional damage, but to get some other benefits from them as well. But also, you have a little bit of a gambling thing as well with high stakes. That's a passive ability that you use for Gambit. During your upkeep phase, you can choose to roll 2 or 5 dice. If you roll a supercharge for each one of those, you get to charge any ace card. You get to accelerate a clever spade, you get to accelerate a heart or diamond when rolling the heart, diamond, spade, club symbols on the dice. But if at any time you roll and you roll a 1, gain nothing from this ability and remove 1 molecular acceleration. So you're actually going to have a chance to decharge a card by rolling a 1. So if you roll 2 dice, the odds of rolling the die on 1 will definitely be a lot less than having to roll 5 because that increases your chances to roll a 1. And even though the math is a bit simple right now, it can lead to Steiner math later on down the line. Now, as you can see, a lot of what Gambit does on here, it's a bit poker related, which being somebody that played a Las Vegas bouncer, I love that ability. But not only do you have that, and you have Le Diable Blanc, which is the ultimate ability that accelerates 4 times, causes Dissolution inflicts disruption. Then you regain an ace card and deal 11 damage. Whew, that's a lot for that ultimate ability. But you have cards like 3-card Monty, regain up to 3 ace cards. So that's how you're going to be able to get these cards back. You have Gumbo. Roll 5, you heal 1 for each heart diamond, and on a 6, you gain Disillusion. You get Rogue's Kiss. Change any one of your dice to a spade club or to a heart diamond. And then you have Extreme Remy. For each ace card that has an available charge slot, accelerate it once. So this will help you get these cards charged up and ready to throw at a moment's notice. Last but not least, we have Jean Grey. Now, Jean Grey acts a bit like the cursed pirate that we saw in Season 2, but her ability is on call. She has the ability Call of the Phoenix. Jean Grey must begin active on your first turn, so you cannot go Dark Phoenix right off the bat. For all subsequent turns during your upkeep phase, you may switch between Jean Grey and Dark Phoenix being active. Now, with Jean Grey, you have the abilities to do the following. When Jean Grey is active, you draw a card. At the beginning of the main phase, you get to get an extra card. And when you activate an offensive ability, if your dice shows 3 of a kind, draw a card. So that would basically be the numbers, not the symbols. You can't get the symbols, it's the numbers, but that's definitely fine, being able to get more cards drawn in your hand. But if you choose to go to the dark side and you play as Dark Phoenix, when Dark Phoenix is active, you skip your income phase, so you use Jean Grey to draw up a lot of cards before you switch to Dark Phoenix. When you activate an offensive ability, if your dice show 3 of a kind, you either add 2 damage to your attack or you inflict Phoenix Burn. And speaking of status effects with Phoenix Burn, Jean Grey / Dark Phoenix has a lot of those that we're going to be able to use. So first off, she has Force Field, stack limit of 1. Remove this token and one other positive status effect on your hero board, then choose a player to prevent half incoming damage. So this is going to be able to not only help you, but again, in a cooperative setting like missions and Dice Stone Adventures, Force Field can definitely be a beneficial ability indeed. Next one, for status effects, we have Acuity with a stack limit of 4. A player with this token may spend them for a variety of effects. You can spend 1 to reroll one of your dice at any time, spend 2 to gain 1 combat point, and spend 4 to inflict Phoenix Burn on a chosen opponent. Next up, we have Flame Blast with a stack limit of 5. Yes, I did stutter a little bit because this is a lot we're going over. Dark Phoenix may spend to increase attack damage. If Dark Phoenix is active, you may spend Flame Blast to increase her attack by 1, or spend 3 to increase the attack by 4. Now, this is an attack modifier, but there are certain cards in your deck that will allow Jean Grey to access the Flame Blast. Next, we have Phoenix Burn as the last status effect. Receive 2 damage in upkeep phase, then roll 1 die on a 5 or 6, remove this token. So anybody that's afflicted by this, they're taking 2 damage, then they can roll a die on the 5 or 6, the token is removed because they have put out the Phoenix Burn, but they're still going to be feeling the heat before it's all said and done. Now, a lot of what Jean Grey does focuses on Acuity and gaining that and Fire Blast, which is the main thing. But not only do you have those and her one true Phoenix ultimate ability to gain Force Field, Acuity, and deal 12 damage, but you have cards like Psychic Shield. If Dark Phoenix, roll 5 dice, prevent 1 damage per astral symbol that you roll. So give you a little bit of a buffer if you're not able to defend too much from the from this psionic shield. You get this psionic shield or psychic shield. There's a lot of psychic, psionic, but it's all good when you're Jean Grey. Next, you have Mind Walk. Remove 2 acuity to gain 3 combat points to be able to help pay for these upgrades later on down the line, which I haven't gone over throughout the entire video because the upgrades, I'll let you discover those because those are going to be really good when you start hitting those on the board. Next, you have Mind Charge. Flip one of your opponent's dice to the opposite side. A 1 to a 6, a 2 to a 5, or a 3 to a 4. Love the manipulation that can cause. And finally, you can do a Phoenix Call to have Dark Phoenix become active at any time you're Jean Grey, not just during your upkeep phase. So You're able to get the abilities from Jean Grey here, but then go active as Dark Phoenix for some chaos later on in your main phases. But that is the last of these X-Men, as Jean Grey may make it to where you'll be feeling the Phoenix burn and you'll be seeing the Dark Phoenix reign for a long time. Well, there you have it. That is the 8 characters, the X-Men roster that you're able to play with in Dice Throne X-Men. Now, each and every one of these characters is really thematic, and I think Roxley did an amazing job with the op to bring these X-Men characters to life, just like they did for the Marvel one that they had released a couple years ago, when you had characters like Doctor Strange and you had Black Widow, Spider-Man, Miles Morales. But now you're getting to play as Storm and Wolverine and Gambit and Rogue and be able to truly have an epic Marvel mayhem matchup with these 16 characters total between the original Marvel set and Dice Throne Marvel X-Men. There's also the 17th character, Deadpool, which I will do one for him later on down the line. I may actually take Deadpool and have him do his own adventure in one of the portal adventures for Dice Throne Adventures. But that's probably enough adventures I'm going to be saying for one day. But I really do enjoy how this set looked, even though, yes, we had to wait for a good while for Dice Throne players to get the big battle boxes, because some players were waiting on the battle boxes while the retail ones were already on the shelves at big box stores and local game stores. So I was tempted to get that, but I'm glad I waited because the battle box is amazing. Great way to store all the characters and components, and plus I got the upgraded tokens and everything. And I can't wait to get this more on the table in the weeks and months to come. So far, my record in X-Men Dice Throne is 2-1. My wife is definitely better at rolling dice and being able to do the strategy games more than I am now. She has definitely become the master, where I've taught her for over 15 years. She has definitely gotten to become the strategist when it comes to different games. And I can't say enough that I'm both proud of being able to see her progress as a player, but also my backside's getting sore from getting beat so dang much, I tell you. but the uh, but the set itself, like I said, I love how each character is designed. And if you're in the tournament play, if you have a chance, in my opinion, to play Storm or to play Wolverine, both of them have really big upside to them. Jean Grey, I love it. You could flip between Dark Phoenix and her regular form. Rogue, being able to do a lot of the um, inflict more damage, which basically shows her strength. Iceman being able to connect different abilities to be able to get double the attacks pretty much. The one big one that I'm a little bit iffy on is Gambit. Gambit being able to charge up cards and being able to make them explode is a great idea. I just think it could have been manipulated a little bit better. Um, do something similar to what you did with Iceman with the freezer. Have that be like a deck of cards, and depending on the number of charge counters it has on it, depends on what the ability is that you are able to do. But I can definitely see them not doing that, because you have Iceman and you don't have 2 characters that have pretty much the exact same thing going on, of storing counters on a separate card than what you have on your player board. But if you go into a tournament, I would really hope to get Wolverine or Storm. I think those two would be really great to play in those events. Hitting the table themselves as part of the missions or Dice Throne Adventures, Cyclops will probably be your best go-to person, and Rogue, because Rogue can be the heavy hitter and Cyclops can definitely help out everybody. Same thing with Jean Grey. Jean Grey being able to throw up force fields for people to help mitigate damage is definitely going to be a big boon in the cooperative gameplay. And plus, she's able to do that for herself, so it definitely saves your backside when you're playing her in a 1v1 match. But each of the X-Men, I do believe, no matter which one you pick, you're definitely going to have a lot of fun rolling the dice, playing their strategies out, and being able to make the combos that you want to make and see what each character can do as the game unfolds, and getting more and more gameplay under your belt with the marvelous characters of the X-Men. A little play on words for Marvel, marvelous. Yeah. But thank you all so much for checking out this video. If you like it, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Let everybody know the House Hedge Gaming is here for all of your gaming needs. Spread the word that we are on the countdown to Gen Con 2025. And I can't wait to see what the future holds, not only for Roxley Games, for Dice Throne and Slam Throne, but for everything going on in the world of gaming and here on the channel. And hopefully all of you will join us for that journey. But until next time, everyone, stay safe and take care, my friends.